Okay, we are streaming live. In the next 1 minute, I'm just going to make start the webinar as well. I hope all of you are, excited like I am.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so we are at 3 p.m. now. I'm going to start the webinar and wait for the attendees to start streaming in. Okay, so I can see this attendees are starting to join. I'll just wait for a few people more to log in. Okay, so I'll start now. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's session on data-driven decision making. A session that is aptly titled Data-Driven Decision Making Leveraging Fleet Connectivity for Strategic Business Insights. This session is brought to you by the team at Commercial Vehicle Forum, or as we are more popularly known, CVF, and we have partnered with Tata Communications for this one. My name is Rohit Diwan, and I am the Portfolio Director for the portfolio of automotive events that we do, called CVF, TWF, and PVF. While most of you are already aware, for some of the attendees who are joining us, just to give you a quick introduction, CVF is India's premium C-level commercial vehicle industry event. And before we start today's session, I'm delighted to share that the upcoming 9th edition of the CVF will take place on 11th of June at the Hyatt Regency in Pune, bringing together over 100 expert speakers, more than 500 professionals from CV manufacturers, suppliers, government bodies, and logistic organizations, and even dealers. This year's edition will place a special emphasis on fleet and off-highway segment as well. And we are even hosting a CV and Fleet Awards honoring innovation and excellence across the sector. Now, moving on to the agenda for today's session, I'll be kicking off the proceedings with a short welcome note, which is going on right now. And as part of this introduction, I'll be introducing the esteemed speaker group. As we will also devote a minute or two during the session to run few polls to obtain the audience's feedback. We will also be taking few audience's questions. Your active participation is essential to make this session a success. Right now, we have all you attendees in a listen-only mode, but here is how you can interact with us. You can ask us questions. At the bottom of your screen, you will see a Q&A box. Please feel free to send us your questions during the session in the Q&A box. You can even choose to upvote those questions. This will help us in addressing the most burning topics. The more you upvote, the higher the question becomes, so the more likelihood of it being answered. We also invite you to share your questions in the poll question that we'll be flashing on your screen. Do note that we have the session leaving live on YouTube as well, so you can watch it there as well. And anyone who has registered will even receive a recording of this session. Apart from that, I request you to share your insights in the feedback form that will open as soon as you exit the session. If there's something else you're interested in learning more, do reach out to us. So before we begin today's session, I wanted to, first of all, thank our partner, Tata Communications, for supporting this session. Tata Communications, as I'm sure you're well aware, is a global digital ecosystem enabler. They're powering the digital transformation of enterprises worldwide, including 300 of the Fortune 500. They help businesses unlock borderless growth, enhance customer experiences, drive innovation, and improve efficiency. They, in fact, carry 30% of the world's internet routes, connect to 80% of the global cloud providers, and reach 4 out of 5 mobile subscribers, all supported by the world's largest wholly owned subsea fiber backbone and tier 1 IP network in 190 plus countries. With over 25 years of driving India's digital revolution, Tata Communications is committed to delivering secure, connected digital experiences for enterprises across the globe. So now, moving to the panel discussion, I would like to briefly introduce our expert speaker group. First off, joining us today is Tansher Singh, Managing Director at ABC Express. He's someone who holds himself and his team to higher standards and is driven by a passion for problem solving and a commitment to combining real world observation with data analysis to make well informed decisions. With a well rounded academic background in macroeconomics, management, and finance, he has gained international experience in logistics management, management consulting, and central banking. Currently, he leads two India-based logistics companies and manages his personal family office, which holds a diversified portfolio of global real estate, fixed income, and equity investments. Our next speaker for the session is Mr. S.A. Sundaresan, Head of New Technologies at Ashok Leyland. He has been an entrepreneur and a technological innovator, where his past experiences have ranged from developing hermetic compressors, sheet metal engineering, plant and business digitalization, and that too before it was long a buzzword. He also recently was the vice president of Ashok Leyland's EV and e-mobility business. Our third speaker for the session is Mr. Ajay Mittal, head of analytics and digital at Volvo Eicher Commercial Vehicles. Ajay brings over 2 decades of experience in driving digital transformation, advanced analytics, and data-driven decision making across industries. His rich experience includes leadership roles at global organizations such as IBM, Wipro, and Satyam, where he specialized in telecom analytics, predictive modeling, and business intelligence. Ajay's deep understanding of big data, customer insights, and digital strategy has been instrumental in delivering impactful business outcomes. Our next speaker for the session is Mr. Dikshit Kumar Mohla. He has over 30 years of experience in automotive sector, a seasoned leader. He specializes in corporate strategy, production planning, and finished good logistics with prior experience at Tata Motors. Dikshit has driven key initiatives in smart mobility, digital transformation, and sustainable logistics. His leadership has enhanced production efficiency, optimized vehicle dispatch, and delivery operations. And he has even advanced technology driven solutions such as telematics, ADAS, IoT based fleet management, thereby positioning SML Isuzu at the forefront of innovation in commercial vehicle operations. The next speaker for the session is Mr. Abhishek Ashok Gupta. He has been involved with the business as the third generation since 2001. His keen interest in technology that helps him keep Prakash Parcel Services ahead in all tech advancements. He plays an important role in transport associations such as All India Transport Welfare Association as General Secretary, Bombay Good Transport Association and Chairman GST Committee. He represents the industry on various platforms as the nominee of these respective associations. He is instrumental in bringing forth various breakthroughs from the industry during his tenure as Joint Secretary of AITWA and also helping the trade with tools for better managing their business. Our final speaker for the session is Sukalyan Mukherjee, a seasoned business leader with 27 plus years of engineering industry experience, spanning multiple roles, including business P&L leadership, practice development, pre-sales and solutioning, and product marketing. His experience spans across multiple industry verticals, including automotive, telecom, semiconductor, mobility, industrial, manufacturing, energy, utility, banking, and finance, delivering business growth, new solution offering, new market penetration across the globe. Currently, he's leading Tata Communications' Move Mobility Business India growth and APAC expansion. And finally, our moderator for the session is Ashim Sharma. After completing his BTech with honors in mechanical engineering from National Institute of Technology, Hamirpur, Ashim started his career at Mahindra, wherein he worked with the core team that launched the new Mahindra Bolero in 2007. Thereafter, he went on to do his MBA from SP Jain Institute of Management and Research, Mumbai. Ashim now leads the Business Performance Improvement Group of NRI Consulting in India and has been with the firm for over a decade. And we are incredibly honored to have him on board as a moderator for the session. So, Ashim, before I hand this to you, I just want to, do a poll and just see where our audience is, in terms of their familiarity with the use of connected vehicle data and fleet management. So the audience members, you can, definitely go ahead and answer this poll so that, it will help us understand where you are coming from, and how much do you know about this subject before we initiate this discussion? So the question I repeat, how familiar are you with the use of connected vehicle data in fleet management? Very familiar, somewhat familiar, not very familiar, unfamiliar, in that this is a new concept for us. So I'll just give you another 15, 20 seconds to answer this. Okay, great. So I'm just ending this poll and just sharing the results for everybody to see. I hope everybody is able to see the results. So generally, by and large, it seems people are very familiar to somewhat familiar. So I think we have a very knowledgeable audience in our hands. So Tancher and the rest of the speaker group, I hope you're on your best game. So Ashim, please take it forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rohit, and very good afternoon to all of you. I think we have an august gathering of speakers today to talk about the subject of data-driven decision-making, leveraging fleet connectivity for strategic business insights. As many of us are already familiar, when we talk about how fleet operators can harness the power of connected vehicle data to drive operational efficiency, to enhance profitability, improve service quality, all this is becoming increasingly important. We also see that telematics and connectivity provides large amounts of data which can be leveraged. However, sometimes these features also come with an incremental cost with the vehicle. But then in order to be able to make adoption more widespread, it's important that most stakeholders understand how this can be leveraged to improve their operations across the value chain. So keeping all of this in mind, I think we are having a set of industry experts from the user side, from the commercial vehicle industry, from those who are providing the communication network, and together with all of you, I think we'll be able to have a very interesting discussion on this topic. So to kickstart the discussion, I would go across to you, Mr. Tancher Singh. As the managing director of ABC Express, a leading fleet operator, how has ABC Express leveraged connected vehicle data to enhance operational efficiency, reduce costs? And if you could share some specific examples where telematics IoT has significantly improved things like route planning, fuel efficiency, fleet utilization, etc., that'll be great, to kickstart the proceedings for today. So over to you, Tancher.
Thank you so much for having me here. And firstly, I'd like to say I'm not a leading fleet operator, but I'm a user of telematics. And I'm always learning. We are always learning in the fleet field, and every day is a new day. We try our best to we are at the forefront, and we're at a revolution right now where data is coming into fleet, and this has come ever since OBD and ECUs came into trucks. So the trucks right now are a mother load of data. They produce right from peak torque range to which number injector is spoiled. So right from what efficiency is given. So GPS was was something which was groundbreaking 10 years back. But now that's just a given. In the future, what we are seeing today coming from fleet is also going to become a given. So I feel like here we are discussing what is going to become normal in the next 5 years. And it's very important to use this mother load of data very efficiently. So apart from fleet data, even the government is giving us data on ULIP. We are also generating a lot of data, where in our accounts. We are keeping records of which driver is on which vehicle. So in ABC, what we've ended up doing is we've built our own system in which take connected data from our OBD providers, from our OEMs like Ashok Leyland, Volvo Eicher Live, Tata Fleet Edge, and we put it into a data lake. And we also combine data from ULIP. We also have our entries as to which driver is on which vehicle at which time, carrying what load on which route. And based on this, we've been able to figure out which vehicle gives the best fuel efficiency on what route. And that is very actionable because that can make an extra 3 or 4% profit if it's used properly. I'll give you an example since you clearly asked that. I mean, you asked me on route optimization, on fuel efficiency, And what was the third thing you had said, please?
Yeah, so route optimization, fuel efficiency, and the third one that I mentioned was fleet utilization.
Fleet utilization. Okay, so I'll start with fuel efficiency because that is my favorite topic. And I think the more fuel you save is the more money you can give to your driver. Let's say that a vehicle consumes 600 liters instead of a 700 liters on a Bombay round trip. You can make 50-liter profit and give an extra 50-liter profit to your driver. When the driver makes more money, when your fuel efficiency is good, that's when your fleet utilization is good. When your driver makes money, your driver is running more. So I'll give you an example of how I looked into fuel efficiency. I bought an Ashok Leyland 4225 vehicle last year, and I bought five of them. I was seeing three vehicles are giving excellent average and two were not giving excellent average. So to speak, one was giving a 3.1 and the other one was giving a 3.5 kilometers per liter. So that's huge. That's almost 8,000 rupees over a 10-day round trip per vehicle. Just for reference, I do 500 trips a month. That's 40 lakhs. So that's how much difference the fuel efficiency did. So when I went into the data, I looked that one of my driver was driving at a very high RPM consistently. When the driver returned and I showed him that, boss, aapka saath ka gaadi, is giving an average of 3.5, yours is giving a 3.1, because you are driving at a RPM in excess of the peak torque range RPM, it's causing a challenge. And you are not making less money because in our industry, we give a driver a fixed average, as you're aware. So based on this, we were able to figure out that in which RPM the driver should drive in order to give the best efficiency. So we also have systems within our ERP where we are able to send alerts to the driver as soon as he goes into a high PTR. So we can into a high RPM. So he gets an automatic WhatsApp because we have got our driver data in our software and we have got our fleet data in our software coming from the connected vehicle. We can nudge the driver whenever he's idling. We can nudge the driver whenever he's on high RPM. That way, because the driver is given a fixed amount of diesel. So if you nudge him to make more money, the driver will be more positive towards the company. And your driver is your internal customer. If your internal customer is happy, you're going to make a lot of money. So the whole way is to save as much diesel possible and benefit the driver through that. That is one way. Another one small snippet I'll give is there are cowl vehicles and there are cabin vehicles.
Right.
I'm collecting data vehicle-wise, fuel efficiency-wise. So I'm able to see that cabin vehicles give a better fuel efficiency than cowl vehicles. And we are not penny-wise, and if we are pound-wise, we will always buy a little bit more expensive trucks with cabins, with ACs, because we have realized that because of this, fuel efficiency comes better, and you will have your amortized amount. Let's say the cabin is 2 lakh rupees more expensive. You will make that money back in fuel saved within 1 year. So there's a lot of information out there. It just needs to be harnessed very well. That's what I believe.
Sure. Thank you, Tanchir, for sharing those, very vivid real life examples on how you are leveraging this data. Taking the conversation across to you, Mr. Mittal, and then I'll also request Mr. Sundaresan to also comment on the same question. How is Volvo Eicher and also later on Ashok Leyland integrating some of these connected technologies and telematics into the latest generation of commercial vehicles, also and leveraging analytics and digital tools so as to also benefit the fleet operators from that. So we'll start with you, Mr. Mittal, and then I'll also request you, Mr. Sundaresan, to comment on the same.
Thanks, Hashim. And first of all, thanks to Mr. Tanchir bringing perspective from the vehicle owner and the vehicle operation perspective. So I'm sure it would have given a lot of important insights to those people who wants to understand how to leverage telematics and its associated data in vehicle operations. So continuing on that part, Hashim, what you asked, see, from our perspective, the objective of bringing telematics is the reason that we wanted to enable large customers, the vehicle owners, to leverage this technology from their basic need of track and trace to going up to the vehicle operation management. The way Mr. Tanchir explained about how it can be useful in not only in fuel efficiency, but also in driver behavior. The driver is a very important asset or a human capital in the whole value chain. If we are able to bring that insights, which brings value to a driver, to understanding the importance of the vehicle, how it is to be operated, and then the driver learns from it. See, the extension of what Mr. Tancher said, and I can add from our side, is taking the insights and making the driver more knowledgeable. And that can only happen when we have this data converted into a meaningful insights for it. Driver behavior of higher RPM, harsh acceleration, harsh braking, converting them into those insights which he is doing it while running the vehicle. So those are very important aspects that we want to bring when we integrated or enabled telematics onto our vehicle and enabled a digital platform called MyAsher for our vehicle owners. So our customers leverages this platform to see those insights which are available. So MyAsher not only has provided telematics data, it has provided those insights which are used by vehicle owners for their operations. So large customers like Tanshir sir, and I'm sure other customers must be using it. Apart from that, what we do is we leverage that data to offer one very important service to all our customers for connected vehicles is uptime service. We have our predictive uptime service, which runs 24/7 for all our connected vehicles, which provides predictive alerts to our vehicle owners, even to the drivers, about a potential problem in the vehicle, which should be solved ahead of time so that it should not become a major breakdown issue. Because uptime is the key when we want to run a commercial vehicle, right? So as all fleet operator wants, that vehicle should have maximum runtime. So that was the focus, is that uptime should be high. And not only giving an information, but linking it to the fulfillment of the observation, that enabling the challenge network be ready for it when the vehicle notification is received. The vehicle is coming to the workshop, they are proactively aware of what the problems are. So leveraging that technology aspect to that level. And third part is leveraging that insights which are coming from that vehicle data into taking into improvements of the vehicle design and vehicle architecture. So not only in the vehicle operation, but the observations which are received correlated with this data and taking it back to improving the vehicle design, vehicle architecture, vehicle controls. Because we'll know each vehicle operates in a different operating conditions. So configuration of that, vehicle design for that, those are the areas where these telematics data and lots of data which is coming out, when converted into meaningful insights, it can go. So just to summarize, one, leveraging this telematics data for vehicle operations, converting them into insights so that vehicle owner leverages them. Otherwise, sending them loads of data will not give any insight or any value to them. Second, bringing those insights so that the end customer, actually the driver or the end customer, can also benefit. And third, taking it internally into vehicle controls and vehicle design. So that is what I will summarize my statements.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mittal, and also, sort of explaining it very nicely in this whole cycle, from collecting that data, from not just track and trace, but actually analytics, taking that data, and how you said, sharing that with the end users, and also very importantly, drivers, where I think also the aspect of road safety could also come in increasingly for the drivers to leverage, and including preventive maintenance. Very importantly, you said also, taking it back in terms of a closed loop for improving the vehicle design. So thank you very much for sharing these insights. Taking the same question across to you, Mr. Sundaresan, what would you like to add on that here?
Sure. Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for having me here. Yeah, it's a very, very interesting question. At the same time, the answers are limited. I think Tanshir kind of highlighted how the fleet operators use this data, and as OEMs, Ajay answered how we leverage that data. So, end of the day, one is fuel economy, the second is uptime. So how do we use this data to maximize the two? So one is obviously the first step, which was generating some pointers, whether it is high RPM or idling or that harsh acceleration, harsh deceleration, driver behavior, and also the vehicle side. So what are the various design choices or manufacturing elements that lead to variation in fuel economy or reliability issues? How do we address them even before they manifest in the field? So can we kind of reduce the role that the driver plays in this through better controls? Difficult in a diesel engine vehicle, but becomes possible with the newer powertrains, essentially the electric vehicles. You have a lot more controls, so you can easily limit acceleration, for example. And anyway, deceleration time you are regenerating. But how do you regenerate so that your battery life is not impacted, at the same time improving the fuel economy? So we use the data generated from the diesel vehicles to get these insights into how we can kind of intervene at the design stage itself, in terms of the component choices we make. What kind of a battery should we specify? What kind of a motor should we have? And then extending that, actually it's become a kind of quite closed loop. So the knowledge sharing between the electric vehicle design flows back to the diesel vehicle design, and see some of these can we still attempt even with a diesel vehicle. So that way, actually, the telematics data has become a very, very important source for driving a lot of innovation in this. Again, target being the same, but the way we are achieving is becoming more, I mean, we're bringing in a lot of unique stuff there.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Sundaresh, for touching upon that. Another very important aspect, with the electric powertrains and how this can help improve them in the future. Thank you for sharing that perspective. Going across to you, Mr. Dixit. So apart from, the SML Isuzu trucks having all these features, I also wanted to ask you from, say, a user perspective, as an end user perspective, how are you using connected vehicle data to optimize things like production planning, supply chain, your logistics operations? And if you could also elaborate on how connectivity insights help improve things like order fulfillment efficiency and reduce lead times in your manufacturing setup.
Hi, basically, if you talk about, although Mr. Singh and Mr. Sharma has already explained, Mr. Mittal also in the same way, that this coming up feature with the help of IoT and the telematics part, which is the now mandatory part in all the commercial vehicles, where by this we are getting very handsome data, and this data, when we close it with the AI, so we are getting very good feedback, and on the basis of that, the analysis what we are doing it is very tremendous and very in a faster mode. So with this, we can also do the wonders what we are assuming in last 3-4 years earlier. So this is very helpful as a manufacturer of commercial vehicles, as an SMLI. If you see how we can use this data from what we are getting with the telematics, like first you ask for the production planning optimizations. Now in production planning optimizations, the first thing is that with the connected vehicles, but we are getting the informations of the vehicles which are already sold in the market, or we are already dispatching to our dealers. So we are collecting the data, how our vehicles are performing, and what sort of efficiency, fuel efficiency, and other features and specifications we are getting information from. So by collecting this data, if we talk about the production planning optimizations, we can see what is the taste and what is the trend in the market, what sort of specifications tonnage wise the vehicle is predicting, and whether the information what is the as a customer and end user are getting from this. So all the information with the help of these connecting devices we are receiving, and then it's being closed it in, and then we are planning the production plan. So like for example, if we talk about an SMLI, when we started this addition of this telematics part in our vehicles, if we compare the financial year 22-23 with the financial year 23-24, we have a good sales jump of around 10 to 11%, if it's more precise. So that is the things where we are getting the good taste, and accordingly to the demand of the customer, we are producing the vehicles in advance. Because in the commercial vehicles, the lead time is very important to have a projection what is to be produced and the real time entering the market. Second, you asked about the supply chain part optimization also. Now coming to this subject also, when we have a connected vehicles data with us, then as a fleet owner and as a manufacturer as we are, we can see when the inward is there, especially for the raw materials. As a buyer, then we have the different components coming to our plant for the manufacturing, right? As a buyer, we have to see as per the production plan how much components are required and what sort of components are required. So based upon that, we as an as an supply chain, we are getting handsome data and where the vehicle is at, when it will reach, whether it is reaching at the right time, if it is getting delayed, can we swap our production plan in sync with the production plan so that the idle time, so that uptime, as we mentioned, can be taken up and this can be saved. Third point you asked is about the logistics part, right? Logistics and the delivery optimizations. Now, as an SMLI, we are also dispatching our vehicles from plant to our various dealers pan India, right? Even to the abroad also. So, with do we have the device elective? So, all these the features, especially the GPS locations and the driver behaviorability and ADAS, and also we are also going to introduce the camera which is capturing inside and outside of the view of the vehicles when it's traveling. So, first is the real-time data where the vehicle is, and we can also with the geofencing technology with the connected vehicles we can see where when the vehicle is about to reach your dealers to the customer. So this way logistics part and the delivery part can be also seen. Similarly, as we just mentioned by Mr. Tansher Sarato, that with the fuel efficiency we are monitoring what is the consumption of the fuel what our vehicles are giving. So by this, we can see our fleet owners that these vehicles are giving this much of value, and also to the drivers to facilitate by saving the fuel. And as we save the fuel, that will very much right that we give the more benefits to the drivers, because in incoming time in the pan India also there is a very shortage of the drivers, and if we have to give lucrative offers to the drivers, this is a good thing with the best benefits to be given to drivers. So this is helping us for the logistics part.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's serving the questions you have. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Dikshit, thank you for that very elaborate answer on all those aspects. I think one key thing that I also derive from that is one is that you're using AI, and secondly, I think you yourself using the power of these vehicles also becomes a very good use case for customers who are buying your vehicles. You can also show them how you are leveraging it, and they can leverage it in all those forms as well. So thank you for your response. Going across to you, Mr. Sukalyan Mukherjee, since you are supplying a lot of these systems, integrating them across fleet operators, across some OEMs as well, what are some of the key use cases for data-driven decision making that are emerging in India, and what sort of business models do they hinge on? What value are OEMs also deriving out of it? For example, across the life cycle of a customer or the vehicle and the customer, and what is sort of the global trends also around this that you are seeing?
Sure. Thank you, and good afternoon to all. So I think in the connectivity space, when you say a connected vehicle, I learned these keywords and which hits me that we use connectivity for the joy of use, ease of use, in a price efficient way. I think that is the key topic or the key ethos we'll keep. On the use cases, I think there has been good elaboration on the fleet management and on the operation and efficiency. So I will not touch it further. Next point, what is coming up, I would say two things. One is on the safety. Okay, enhanced safety, whether it is through the safety adders or it is through camera. So all this, most of this safety support system, what we call it in the ADAS, they need connectivity enablement. So and beyond if you want to have a proper vehicle running with proper uptime and without any accident or damage, which also adds to the cost of the vehicle running, we are introducing, our friends here are introducing different safety systems, which will save the car and all the human being as well as the material. I think that's also an important part. Many of these are goods carriage. So I see that as an important use case where connectivity is, creating a big impact. Second area where I will see is the electric vehicles. Now, whether it is a passenger or a commercial everything is becoming electric vehicle today, and managing the electric vehicle and the electric vehicle tension, okay, in terms of range, in terms of battery status, in terms of finding the nearest charging station. Can I complete my trip in time? Again, independent of whether it's a commercial or non-commercial. Of course, commercial will have more, cost, cost implication. And then, integrating that with the map or the route to make the optimized battery utilization and going to the most cost optimized battery charging approach, whatever you want to plan as a logistics, I think that becomes very important. The third area, what I want to highlight, where we are seeing a lot of, and since we come from the connectivity part of the business, I will highlight on that, whether it is a fossil fuel vehicle or EV, there are now a lot of OTA updates happening. Okay, say you want to do a new feature for your driver. Okay, you don't want to ask the driver to go to the dealer shop or to your center every time. So you do online training and you update the feature. More so for the EV because there'll be software patches, etc. So one use case I will give that how you make the OTA efficient. What I mean by that, if the OTA is driven by the manufacturer or the transporter, it's a cost to them. If it does not happen in time, if it is repeat, if it fails, it's a customer dissatisfaction. Not only that, it's a cost. Same thing if it is an end user driven. If it is not happening properly, it is getting disconnected in between. That's also a customer irritation. And of course, it's a cost because every time you fail, you have to redo, there is a cost. What we have done, just an example, we actually combine the network data, understanding what is the signal strength, what are your data usage, quality, etc. And then do it device by device, vehicle by vehicle, and apply an AI/ML logic onto it to identify for each vehicle or each group, small group or subgroup of vehicle, what is the best time to do a OTA update, whether it is a customer driven or the manufacturer driven. And that's how we actually have given a very satisfied experience to both the manufacturer as well as the end user on the connectivity-based use case, if I may say.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mukherjee. I think you elaborated on some very important aspects, starting with ADAS and EVs, and also very importantly, OTA with more and more software-driven vehicles, more so in the electric vehicle era, as you said. Yeah, I think that's a very good insight of what is the best time to do the OTA, for example. Yeah, thank you for sharing those insights. Finally, very importantly, coming across to you, Mr. Abhishek Gupta, as the General Secretary for All India Transporters Welfare Association, how crucial do you think is connected vehicle data for the future of India's transportation and logistics sector? And do you feel that many fleet owners in the industry are really making use of the data available to them through connected vehicles? And is there a way of increasing this adoption? So your views, Mr. Gupta.
Sure. Thank you, Ashim. So I think when you ask me if it's useful or if it's if it's a necessity for the industry, I would definitely say yes.
How crucial is it? Yes.
How crucial? Yes, I would definitely say that it's very crucial. There could be certain steps or certain aspects of it which are very important. One of them is to improve the efficiency and the asset utilization, which is the nation's backbone. Today, fleet and is important for all the economy that's running across the country. And if we have any downtime anywhere, for any reason, be it maintenance, be it delays at the customer's end for loading, unloading, be it idling for cargo, all these aspects can improve with the connected ecosystem. Like how my co-panelists also mentioned, from SML that they use this at their factory, for better planning. I think that is something which definitely would improve the utilization for the fleet owner and also reduce the manpower pressure that would be there at the warehouses or at the factories. The second aspect I think which is very important is reducing of accidents. Today it's a very big issue in the country of fatal accidents that happen on the highways. Road safety is something which is a big concern, which the government is very, very particular about and has been highlighting on every platform where even A2R is present. So I think connected vehicles, especially ADAS and all such tools, do help the drivers drive better in very, very difficult conditions like the Indian roads. So that's where the connected vehicles will definitely help. And I think all this put together would take us to the larger goal, which is of reducing the logistics cost, which primarily becomes the goal of each stakeholder, like all of us, sitting here, to be able to achieve that. The connected ecosystem would definitely greatly help. So I think it's very, very crucial. Coming to the second part of your question about, I think how you asked me that how is the adoption, right? In terms of how many fleet owners.
Yes, and how do you increase it? Yeah.
So I would say, like Tansher, who's, again from the industry, there are very few such transporters, I would say, who are utilizing the connected ecosystem to harness its capacity to the fullest. GPS has been there, it's been done there and dusted now for so many, probably decades now that there has been GPS. But fleet owners probably don't have the knowledge to utilize this data well, right? Like you can understand from all the speakers, everybody spoke about different data sets coming in through the connected ecosystem. To be able to collate that in one place rather than being in silos, to have them in one place and then to be able to get value out of it. One is to have data and then one is to translate the data into actionable item. So I think that's where the challenge today is for most fleet operators. They all have the data. Inherently, the vehicle manufacturers are giving them access to a lot of data. But to be able to, on a real-time basis, study the data, like how Tansher messaged that to nudge the driver, or to tell the driver at the end of the trip that, hey, you did too much of harsh braking this time, and that's why your mileage has gone down, and that's why your earning has got impacted. I think those kind of conversations is still to come from fleet owners. As a percentage, if I would tell you, I think very optimistically, it would be 5 to 7% of fleet owners actually are doing it, which primarily would be the large fleet owners, the ones who probably have 100 plus fleet. The smaller fleet owners, unfortunately, don't have the bandwidth. They don't have the teams to be able to do this. They are fighting their day-to-day, firefighting situations in running their trucks rather than to improve the efficiency.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those very valuable insights. I think, of course, the first part that it's extremely crucial, and I think on the second part you bring out a very important point that it's only those 5 to 7% large fleet operators who are actually harnessing the whole power of it, and hence they are the ones who are willing to adopt it. And probably increasing that adoption will be key, given that we have such a fragmented structure of the transportation industry in India. I think at this juncture, before we move ahead, Rohit, do you want to have the second poll, and then I can move ahead? So I think there's another question that's popped up on the screen for the audience. What is the biggest challenge in adopting connected vehicle technologies? If you all could plug in your responses. Okay, so I think, yeah, we see that the poll is here. I think, one of the biggest challenges, this is limited awareness and technical expertise is coming out by and large the, biggest cause for in improving the adoption, followed by, of course, lack of data standardization and interoperability. And with that, I think my next question, would be coming back to you, Tansher, and also taking cues from what Mr. Abhishek Gupta was saying. So adoption is still low, right? And what do you think are some of the challenges? And in particular, do you also think like every OEM has a different platform from
Spot
where
on.
this data will be coming, right? So how do you also integrate it all to bring it together? Because as a fleet operator, you might be using vehicles from multiple OEMs. So if you could share your insights on that.
That's a really, really good question. And I think you need a turnover of above 100 crores to afford a tech team. And OEMs are not so good at giving their APIs currently. So nobody wants to log into it as long as the data, as Abhishek correctly said, data is there, but it's in silos. And you cannot do VLOOKUPs one after the other by downloading Excels to make sense of that data. All the data we need. So how I do it, I take data from iAlert, and Ashok Leyland has given me limited data. They have not given me all the data. I have taken data from Fleet Edge, and Fleet Edge charges you extra for a API. And the smaller guys cannot afford these things. Firstly, they don't even know what an API is. So I take all this data into my database, have my developers to restructure it into a standardized format, and then I'm able to make sense of it. I'll give you a very interesting example. The OBD of Tata and the OBD of Ashok Leyland, they are differently configured. So the odometer shows 3,000 kilometers on Tata, but 3,050 kilometers on Ashok Leyland. If you look at Ashok Leyland's iAlert, it will show better efficiency, all things equal, just based on the odometer showing a 3% variation. So what we do is we take only the fuel consumed data from the can that comes from the injector ring from multiple OEMs, and then take GPS data which comes from a standard format and take out a fuel efficiency data based on that. So, but this kind of sophistication is not available to the guys who have less than 100 crore turnover. And this is the challenge. So, I mean, I would love to work on a project where I could build, something which all the OEMs could come together and create a standardized IoT platform for all fleet owners to use, because fleet owners will buy multiple OEMs for different applications.
Yeah, understand. So I think that's a very practical insight that you've shared. And 100 crores. I mean, the number by itself will not look huge, but when we look at the transportation sector, it's huge because there are very few who can actually clock a turnover like that. So I'd like to bring in there, Mr. Sundaresan, your response. How to increase this more widespread, and then I'll request Mr. Mittal also to add thereafter.
Sure. So it is a tough this thing. We understand we do need to create a marketplace. So internally, we have been, especially with the SDVs coming in and some of the features that Sukalyan was talking about, where we can offer, let's say, a feature, just switch on or switch off a feature selectively for customers based on subscription, etc. I think it makes sense, as Tansher mentioned, to have a common set of APIs, common set of standards. So that way, I think OEMs also can actually see better revenue than by having these closed ecosystems, because we should be opening up a larger marketplace. So maybe if we can kind of publish some of these interfaces, maybe somebody will come up with a better way to coach the driver, for example, some kind of a gamification, and they can make money out of such an app like that. So, I mean, there are, it's a very early days, but we're kind of trying to put a number on this marketplace and trying to kind of generate enough internal momentum initially to say that we will benefit by such a publisher, by such an open standard. And then I think overall industry has to come together. And I think in this, actually, the users like Tansher and Abhishek Gupta have probably a greater role in demanding OEMs to kind of come to this common understanding.
Thank you, Mr. Sundaresh, for sharing this. Mr. Mittal, if you'd like to add anything to that.
Right. So a couple of points I'll add on to that. Number one is definitely there's a need for bringing in the data standardization, and that can happen at vehicle level. And for that, I'm sure government is looking into it. The way there is a standardization, we call it as a gateway or a FMS gateway kind of a setup, which is available in European market. Same kind of a setup and compliance should come in so that the data standardization can be done at a vehicle level, irrespective of make and model. So that can help definitely from a customer point of view. So that is need. That is the need. Second part is the data which is coming from the vehicle, or even for a small operator or for a medium or a large operator. I think their focus is more towards business rather than setting up an IT ecosystem and then spending time and energy on that. So there is a need for us to collaborate and co-create those kind of an insights with vehicle owners to make it usable. And that is what the intent which we want to be there. So that those meaningful insights are there for them to use for their business purpose rather than spending time on setting servers and data lakes and whatnot. Because, right, they're not an IT companies, to be honest, right? I think let's leave that job to the IT companies to handle, but we should be more focused on that part. So that is what my 2 cents will be.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vittal, for that perspective. And on that point, I'll bring you in, Mr. Sukalyan Mukherjee. How do you see this whole ecosystem sort of evolving in the next 3 to 5 years? And alongside data standardization, there's going to be this other thing also around cyber security, data governance. When you're managing a collected fleet data. So if you could share your perspective on that.
Sure. Let me add to that. See. First of all, in next 3 to 4 years, I do see that in your first poll, I see that number of people knowing about telematics is around 24 to 32%. That will definitely become more than 70%. That definitely is going to happen the way the technology is evolving and the way the adoption is being taken. So that perspective will change. And we will see maybe in another 3 years, your poll will show a different number. That's what we are looking at. And the reason for that is lot of initiatives taken by our government, bringing it from the compliance perspective, which makes it mandatory for the technology to be implemented and to be used. Simplest of example is telematics device is now mandatory in all commercial vehicles, thanks to AIS 140. Right. So now compliance has driven its adoption and implementation. Now that will also move forward as we are getting towards AIS 184, we are getting towards AIS 189. We are also getting in from the Data Protection Acts and then CMS standards coming in. Those will make sure that the implementation is increased in a right way. The standardization of implementation will come in. Now that means the adoption will also come because everybody has to be equally participating in that. Right? For example, FASTag gave a lot of impetus to our toll process. Now we are talking about multi-lane flow and then we are talking about GNSS tolling coming on the way. So those things will make sure that our adoption is there. And that brings a lot of standardization in implementation, be it data standardization standards, be it compliance standards for data protection, all those cyber security, as you mentioned. So all those will come in. So that's how I see that in next 3 to 4 years, we'll see a very major shift in adoption and implementation of this.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mittal. Yes, Mr. Mukherjee, actually, that question was also for you. Basically, also, if you see that also coming from a global perspective as well.
Sure. I think, first let's touch a few key topics. One is the technology evolution. I think today, even with our diesel or a non-EV, we see that there is a data. There is a data collection, there is a data usage, and the main purpose is for the efficiency. So it's an individual driven. Do I want to make myself more efficient? Yes, I do it. Next come the electric vehicle. Here it is not an individual driven. You have to have, and that's what government made through AIS 140. It's not about your wish. You have to have connectivity. EV has made this not by government, but for your own safety, that whether, I should not get stuck in between, or, I should know how my battery works, or I should give the battery data back so that my performance increases, or the battery manufacturer or OEMs are telling that I will charge you not by the vehicle, but by per kilometer. Okay, so I better get connected and do my calculation measurement. So it is becoming unnecessary. Next come your autonomous journey. Okay, and I actually combine autonomous with ADAS, although they are not the same thing. The more you are trying to become autonomous and want the vehicle to do things in an automated way, lane keep, object detection, accident prevention, etc., it is becoming again mandatory. And if you are buying this feature, okay, as a part of the vehicle, then it is better you are paying that money and you please utilize those. Okay, so then it is becoming again more imperative that you grow to that bank. Next is becoming software-defined vehicle. We are all at very fancy of it, that there will be software-defined vehicle. Again, what's a software-defined vehicle? In a very simple term, your software can move between inside the vehicle to the edge, to the cloud, in a very fluid way, so that you can get the best benefit. And I'm not going to detail what is that benefit as the next thing.
Right.
That essentially means, again, that you have to get connected. So it is the vehicle. So if I say the technology evolution of the vehicle is now making it mandatory to pay extra, something more for that feature, and you can get the benefit of that by becoming connected. Okay, I think that is one aspect.
Right.
Second aspect, if I just want to touch, is the ubiquitous connectivity. Now, we are all telling, okay, there is a connected vehicle, you have to collect data, etc. Now, the question is how much you are connected. Are you connected every time? Is there 80% connectivity, etc.? So what is going to move or happening now is from a single MNO to multi-MNO, which we are supporting. Now, will the cellular connectivity work? May not be. There are cases of Wi-Fi hotspot coming in the vehicle. What we are working is to have a multi-access where, besides, cellular, Wi-Fi, satellite will also be another access medium. And that is very important for commercial vehicles, because commercial vehicles has more business imperative to be connected anywhere rather than a passenger vehicle. So again, and we are doing this, but with Starlink now tying up with Airtel and Jio, at least on the paper, I think this is going to come in the next 3 to 5 years, that there is a multi-access where we are invested so that you are connected 100%. Now you define your use cases, assuming you are 100% connected, what more you can.
Understood. Thank you very much for sharing that very vivid and future-looking perspective, Mr. Mukherjee, on that. With that, we are almost out of time before we go for the audience questions. So what I'll do is I'll be asking you all, one sort of wrap-up question before that is, so, looking ahead, what do you see as the biggest game changer in fleet connectivity? And if you had to sum up in one sentence, how will connected data redefine the future of logistics and fleet management in India? It's 2 parts. What is the biggest game changer, and how will connected data redefine the future of logistics and fleet management in India? So maybe we can start with you, Mr. Mukherjee, since you were talking, and then we just go across the board.
I think the game changer to me is the ubiquitous connectivity. Okay. And that is not only the connectivity for the telematics part, which I was telling about mobile, cellular, and others like satellite, but also the other use cases like V2X coming in. Okay, which may need a separate type of connectivity or an advancement of connectivity. It is for the stolen vehicle tracking, especially again commercial vehicle, that also need another set of connectivity parameters. So to me, the ubiquitous connectivity is the game changer. So that when you invest, when Tansher sir invest or Ajay Mittal sir invest, they know that their investment will give them the input 100% of the time.
Understood. Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mukherjee. Mr. Dixit, your response to that?
See, on this subject, I will say the game changer part is if you connect this subject with the fleet as a fleet owner. Now, as a fleet owner, what is my desire will be that I should have all the maximum of the uptime of my vehicles, right? So, main thing is the predictive analysis and the predictive maintenance for the fleet readiness is the point where I should be very much want that information you cut with real time. So how many with IoT enables, what is the real after the real time tracking of the monitoring of the vehicles? Are my all the vehicles are moving continuously without any breakdown? If it is yes, then what is the nearest dealership or service station where I can feed so that my breakdown or reduce and uptime will go up? Similarly, I can see the vehicles with the predictive analysis, which is as a OBD2 compliance also, which is being fed to the manufacturer, but also to the as a fleet owner, it will go to him that I will like to see the services due, all the engine oil or any other things or any abnormality or troubleshooting or troubles are about to come, so that in the common time I can set my vehicle to the service station for the servicing or the repair cost before it goes a bigger problem. So and then my breakdown will go for the particular that vehicle. So these are the two things which are can game change the things. And third is thing is the dynamic route optimizations. See, as a fleet owner, I would like to see my vehicle should take the shortest route. With the GPS system, we are all connected, and that we are now getting the routes also. That prediction is being given to the fleet owner that this is the shortest way. So by this, not only fuel, the time will also be change of the fleet owners. So these are the two main as per the time given to me. So these are the two game changers on which I comment upon. This is the right for the fleet owner.
Thank you, Mr. Dikshit. Very valuable suggestions there. Mr. Gupta, your view on that?
I think with the game changer, like I mentioned, would probably be a consolidation of better efficiency, lower cost, higher safety, and all converging into a better logistics ecosystem for all the stakeholders.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the very precise and concise answer to that. Thank you. Coming across to you, Mr. Sundaresan, for the same.
Yeah. See, we've been talking about uptime. One of the biggest actual spoilers for uptime are non-vehicle related. It is like waiting in traffic jams, waiting for loading, unloading, passing a gate, documentation. So biggest game changer, the way I see it, is some kind of FASTag kind of electronic data sharing. So one, V2X, that ubiquitous connectivity, avoiding traffic jams, and scheduling. When should a truck arrive at which gate, and automatic opening of the gate and everything. So that's the biggest game changer I see.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Sundaresan. Mr. Mittal, your view.
Right. Well, thanks. So I'll just summarize in two quick statements. For me, the biggest game changer will be the change management. I think this was one of your question in the poll also, in the second poll. So I do say change management plays a major role because it's about realizing the value of this connected technology in the complete value chain, from vehicle owner to the driver to the end customer. And the change management plays a major role. Like it should not act like this data is becoming a policing act. Rather, it's an enhancement, it's a value addition, it's a value creation insights. So that kind of a change management is needed. Otherwise, fleet owners can try, but ultimately onus lies on the fleet operator, managers, and the drivers to adopt and implement at the lower level. So that is what I see, that this is the one element that needs to be looked upon, and this can be the biggest game changer. Coming back to realizing its value in the industry from a logistics perspective, I think the industry experts like Mr. Dikshit and Abhishek ji has already mentioned that it can be used in route optimization and minimizing the hurdles which are coming in the daily operations. So that is where this data, these insights can be used, be it in the connected form or in the form of an insights. So that is what I'll rest upon my statements.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mittal. Finally, and very importantly, coming across to you, Mr. Tansher Singh, for your perspective on that.
I think the biggest game changer, I mean, hardware technology is already out there, data is already coming. When we put all this data in one place and we apply modern AI technologies to it, we can have a AI-driven control tower system which manages fleet operations in the most efficient way. I think this is a very, very big game changer, and it's going to happen very soon because the data is already there. Someone just needs to build this centralized system.
Understand. Sure. Thank you very much for all of you answering those questions. Now, just going to a few, audience questions that have come in the Q&A tab. I'm just checking that. Yeah, just give me a second. So I think when I look at the ones which have had the highest number of upvotes, there is a question from Mr. Robin Deep MK. How do you see the role of real-time fluid condition monitoring, engine oils, and other fluids in the vehicles to determine vehicle maintenance cycles and making decisions regarding the choice of products? So if any of you would like to answer that, maybe we can go across to the OEMs.
I would like to answer onto it if from audience they're asking that what sort of engine oil if you're talking about what sort of the brand of engine oil is to be changed. So this connected vehicles can give a signal that if it's a say SMLI vehicle or XYZ brand vehicle, so that as a customer he can very well see what are the listed and empaneled brands of the engine oils or any oil or any specification of the parts to be used with the part number or with a scan system which we are going to start in our vehicles, that they can scan and see the brand as well as he can see the nearby where it is the availability of that specific part or the oil.
Sure, understood. And I think the second thing they're saying that also monitoring, in real time things like viscosity, temperature, etc. of these to determine, from a preventive maintenance side.
That I also touched this subject. I want to again emphasize that predictive maintenance is one of the main thing as a customer to know the health of a vehicle. If the vehicle is giving some signal or notifications, as our cars also giving, and now our vehicles also giving on the dashboard, some symbols are coming. So from that symbols, that the same as with the connected vehicles, that will go to the fleet owner or the customer who can pair with their mobile, right? So he can see so that my vehicle health is XYZ, there is some issue about to come. So now these devices can predict in advance. So that as an owner, I have to bring that vehicle to the nearest service station. So this is the kind of preventive maintenance. I think this is the question he was asking.
Yes, Mr. Dixit. Thank you for answering that. I think the next question is from Mr. Ankit Shah. He's talking about how do you see this when he says this? I think the whole connectivity ecosystem evolving with new technology advances being taken by the government. Like from today, using FASTag, we'll very soon have free toll devices, OBU in vehicles, which will exponentially include large amounts of fleets in the ecosystem, which might have been left out hitherto, as Mr. Abhishek Gupta also mentioned. So what type of data lake this new device will generate, and how do you see, the challenge in connectivity via cellular in these use cases? So if anybody would like to answer that.
If no one, I can again answer on this. For the data which is going to the government, right? Especially government is concerned from BS4 to BS6, now BS planning for BS7 and on, is mainly the concern is the environment and the emission norms. So with the latest features which are going to add, and we already added in our vehicles, especially for the emissions, that is what sort of carbon footprints we are releasing. So government is very much concerned. So this is the main data on which mainly the government is tracking. Second is, as you rightly said, the FASTag. Now, no doubt at present it's with the GPS and toll tax concept is there, but very soon it will be connected with the satellite. As Mr. Gadkari also announced that there will be no line on the tolls. The vehicle will move on the road and automatically the toll and everything will. By this, the stoppage of the vehicles on the toll with the big lines, that will suddenly reduce. And by this, the emissions norms will reduce. So this is the one or two things on which I think at present government is looking out from this data.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Dixit. As Mr. Dixit was answering, I also heard somebody else speaking in the background. So would anyone else like to add something on that? No, I think, okay, with that, then I think we've sort of reached the end of this webinar. So, I'd like to thank you all for sharing your pearls of wisdom on this very important subject and hand it back to Rohit.
Thanks so much, Ashim. Thank you. And thanks for the insightful session, the speaker group. Thanks for taking out the time. Well, that brings us to the end of this session today. Thank you all for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the session, found it useful for your business. I would first of all like to thank the wonderful audience for their attention and their questions. I would request you all to take a few minutes to share your feedback in the form that opens when you exit the session. Next, I want to thank my speaker group for taking out the time for the busy schedule for this. We appreciate your support. And lastly, I wanted to thank our partner, Tata Communications, for supporting this session. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm delighted to share that the upcoming 9th edition of Commercial Vehicle Forum is going to take place on 11th of June, 2025 at the Hyatt in Pune. It's going to be much bigger than before. We'll have over 100 speakers, 500 professionals from the CV industry, awards and all of that. So do join us for that. And we were not able to answer a few of your questions. Maybe we can have a part 2 of this discussion physically at the event as well. So we'd love to all of you to join. In the meantime, here is a goodbye from us. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining the speaker group, the attendees.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot. Have a good afternoon.